bodies were found outside of Shelby Oaks. Riley Brennan is still missing.
The last night I saw her, she said she saw a man standing in her window, staring at her. Yeah.
So, kind of starting now, it's really an interesting time for you because you've had like a whirlwind 5 years with this movie since coming up with it and writing it and then getting the funding, losing the funding, becoming the biggest horror movie on Kickstarter, making the movie, bringing the movie around, getting picked up, becoming a dad, then traveling with the movie. And now we're in this position where you're doing this, but you're also still working as a film critic. Which I find amazing because I know how you mentioned this last night in your intro that it can be a bit of a grind. So I was just wondering what it's like for you to continue doing that and also going out and promoting your own movie and what the balance of that is like.
I find times where I can shoot a bunch of videos. This is like the practical thing, the way that I do it literally is if I have like 3 days or something when I'm not working on Shelby or press or something like that, I'll shoot like 5 or 6 videos. I'll get them edited and then I'll have them stored and I can schedule them to go up at certain times. Like right now as we talk, I think a video just went up for one of my Halloween specials because I've been doing the Halloween special now. It's the 13th year. And I'm like, it's a horror special. I have to do the 13th year. Of course, that number is so significant to horror, so I have to. I think it's just that, first off, I do enjoy it. First and foremost, I do enjoy making videos. But, you know, I got to pay the bills too, man. You know, and that's one of the ways that I do. I have kids, like you said, and they got to eat.
And getting back to that, you just brought up the Halloween specials. This is something that arose from one of those Halloween specials. Yeah. And I was just wondering, because this movie has what I think a lot of the kids today would call as lore. Yeah. And that's something that really comes out in the film. So when you're expanding upon an idea like this with your wife, coming up with it, when it comes to creating the lore of Shelby Oaks and everything that goes into it, what were the conversations that you guys had in terms of what you would like to flesh out and what things you would like to hold back and keep a bit more ambiguous?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, the conversation started with like the ghost town element by driving around northeastern Ohio and looking at locations and realizing there were quite a bit of abandoned locations in Ohio. And thinking about it practically in that way. Like we could shoot in here and it would look really good and it wouldn't cost a lot of money. And so the first like idea was like if we could build this around a ghost town, the production value would be great, but also it'd be kind of cool. So the ghost town element came where, you know, a lot of this movie plays with happy memories of a backstory that are now sad and tragic. Mia with her young sister Riley and hoping and yearning to find her. And I do think that abandoned locations hold a lot of that same feeling where there was once a lot of happy memories at this place and now it's just sitting here rotting. And so that kind of emotional idea of connecting Mia's destitute life of everything's kind of falling apart around her and also a ghost town where that is literally happening, it made sense to me.
One of the things that's really interesting about the disappearance of Riley Brennan in this film is that it takes place in this really interesting point culturally, which is, I think, where both of us really sort of came up in terms of becoming really into film and talking about film, which is this sort of post-Blair Witch, pre-YouTube boom period. Yeah. And I think it's really a fascinating time to sort of look at, and especially something that to use as a jumping off point for this kind of movie. For you, what's it like revisiting that and sort of rooting your film in this sort of place where these things weren't huge and then creating a film around it looking back on that time period?
Yeah, I think the mid to late aughts is a very unique time, not just in YouTube, but for like internet-based horror. Because creepypastas were becoming a thing. You'd watch like the relaxing driving video and you watch a car for 2 minutes and then a zombie pops up at the end, you know? And we were realizing at that time that we were going to start getting horror stories from the internet, new forms of horror, you know? Because when like the internet was in its infancy, all I was doing was like looking at Yahoo movies and maybe making a GeoCities website. But as soon as we realized, oh wait, like you can tell horror stories on the internet in very unique ways like this before, that kind of changed things for me. And this film does kind of explore some of those mid to late aughts of the YouTube sphere and the sort of discovery that a lot of people were having with their content, and just uploading things without thinking about money. There wasn't a lot of nobody talked about monetization. They were just kind of making stuff and sharing it. Broadcast yourself was the motto. And so I like the idea of a paranormal investigative group that is putting out really compelling content. And it's at a time where people wouldn't have been as skeptical about it.